Welcome to this panel talk that we have organized for the very first time. Right now, we are planning to basically start this new series where we can basically talk about the real problems of Pakistan. So, before formally starting the panel and asking the question from our panelists, I want to invite our project director Salman Khan to say a few words to our audience.
Assalamu alaikum and good
Namaste.
evening, everyone. I'm audible?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
good.
you are audible.
Okay, on behalf of NIC Faisalabad, I would like to warmly welcome all our distinguished panelists and all our guests who are present here for this important panel discussion. Uh, Let me introduce myself first. My name is Salman Ahmed. I am the project director at National Incubation Center Faisalabad, joined in February 2026 this year. Prior to joining NIC, I was working for UNDP, UNIDO, and USAID programs on economic empowerment, youth economic, access to finance, entrepreneurship, partnership building, and economic growth. So, so I have a lot of experience both in Pakistan and abroad as well. So I'm enjoying very much, and thanks to the marketing team, especially Abu Bakr, for arranging this important discussion. A little brief on NIC Faisalabad. Most of you must know about it, but let me say a few things about NIC Faisalabad. We are the leading and first agri-tech and textile tech incubator in Pakistan. And it's been funded by Ministry of IT and Telecom and Ignite Technology Fund. It is managed by a consortium of partners, mainly managed by Fauji Fertilizer Company, Cyber Vision, Change Mechanics, Founder Institute, and Ground Up. We have been operational since past 4 years, and till date, we have incubated about 129 startups. We have also generated about 1.6 billion rupees of revenue, attracted about $1 million of investment, and also created about 775 jobs till date. Apart from agri-tech and textile tech, we support startups from all verticals and help startups grow their businesses in all sectors of the value chain. And good thing about the NIC Faisalabad that although we are supporting startups from Faisalabad, but this center is open for startups all across the country, and we have startups from Karachi, all 4 provinces, in fact. Here in NIC, we have state-of-the-art infrastructure. We do have co-working spaces, plus an experienced pool of trainers, mentors, and coaches who help founders grow their businesses. And apart from these services, we also provide support on market linkages, industry connections, and avenues for access to grants, funding, and investments. So this was a brief about NIC, but why are we here? Why we are doing this agribusiness webinar? Because I believe agribusiness is the backbone of our economy. We have a huge agricultural sector, which contributes about 23% to our GDP, which is almost 1/4 of our economy, which is depending on agriculture. And if you look at agriculture, it also is one of our biggest source of employment. A lot of employment generation is through agricultural sector. But despite its importance and value in the economy, it has tremendous challenges as well. And one of the major challenges about the water scarcity, and that's the major challenge I believe, because 90% water of Pakistan goes to agricultural and irrigation sector. Then we have other challenges as well, which are related to rising input and machinery costs, lack of awareness of modern techniques related to agriculture, then obviously lack of usage of new technologies, access to the market, and right information to access to markets and information sharing. These are some of the challenges that we are facing in the agricultural sector. But obviously, these challenges also create opportunities, and our founders should, feel that there are challenges, but there are opportunities to solve these problems as well. And because NIC is all across Pakistan, they work on technology, and we are also a technology-based incubator. So we have seen technology addressing these challenges all across the world, and now it's been, being implemented and adapted in Pakistan as well, not at a very large scale, but I mean, still we are, adapting these technologies, new technologies. So I think, like, we have to answer. If you look at the founders, we need to answer certain questions. First of all, these technologies should not be used for the sake of technology. It should be solving real world problems. That's the main goal. And anybody can come over and say, I want to build some technology or a platform, but what's the point of making it unless that technology is solving those problems? So there are certain questions that needs to be answered, and these are basic questions that needs to be answered by the founders who are present here, and all the founders in our institute, that they should address, which is basically the core problems and challenges faced by the farmer community. So what are those core challenges? They should identify those core challenges. Then they should provide a solution. And that solution, they think like that solution will solve that problem or not. That solution should be able to solve that problem. And is that solution cost effective and affordable? Is that user friendly and easy to use? Does it actually reduce farmers' cost and increase its income? And obviously, in the end, like, if the solution is there, is the farmer willing to pay for it and willing to use that product or service? Then apart from these questions, there are other critical questions as well, which is, is the if that solution is accepted and adapted, is that solution scalable? Because first you're going to do a pilot, make an MVP, and have a pilot. But is that solution moving from a small pilot to big farmers and into the community? And where does the funding come from? Because there's lack of funding. Where that funding and investment is coming from? Who will be the partners, suppliers, and distributors for that product and services? And how that innovative model can become a profitable and sustainable business model. So I think these are some of the questions that we want to discuss during our panel today. And I mean, obviously, our panelists are very respected, people from the industry. And I would like to introduce briefly what they're doing, but they can obviously introduce themselves in detail. We have Mr. Muzaffar Manghi. He's the co-founder of Farmdar. Farmdar is an AgriTech company that uses AI satellite technology to help farmers and agribusinesses make better decisions and informed decisions. Mr. Fouad Khan, he's the Chief Commercial Officer at Concave Agri, which is also an AgriTech company, which is working on different areas of agricultural value chains, ranging from advisory services, providing inputs, machinery and inputs, market linkages, climate smart agriculture, and data analytics. And Ghasharib Shoukat, finally, founder and CEO of Zarai Mandi. He was our NIC incubated, from Faisalabad, incubated from NIC Faisalabad. So hats off to him that he's grown and he is, representing us in the panel today. His product, his company provides farmers, traders, and other agricultural stakeholders with the right pricing, commodity pricing, mandi information, market news, and related data. So I'm happy that we have a experienced and mixed pool of panelists from different dimensions. We'll be hearing, information related to commercialization, agri services, AI use of AI, satellite and drones, and sensors. Plus, we will also be talking about, about investments, market linkages, and practical and useful discussion on areas of growth and sustainability as well. So I hope this will be a very useful and practical discussion, and there will be a lot of interaction, questions, and look forward to a very engaging session today. Thank you so much.
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Salman, for basically sharing a brief intro about the NIC and about our panelists. So, like, without the further ado, let's deep dive into the real problems that we're gonna discuss today. So, my first question is from Muzaffar Manghi, as he is the founder. When I started exploring the agri-tech space, he is one of the first guy that I started looking into his journey, and like I got really impressed by his journey. And of course, like Bukhari's journey and Farmdar journey, they are like whole basically playbook for any AgriTech founder that wants to start something in this field. So, Muzaffar, I wanted to ask you this question as Pakistan has like a lot of problems in the space of agriculture, but there should be bigger problems that need to be addressed first. So, I wanted to ask you what are the most urgent challenges currently Pakistan is facing, and founders should start working on that immediately.
Thank you for the kind words and thank you for inviting me. I just wanted to add, Farmdar was also once incubated at the NIC, so we have an old relationship, and it's a pleasure to be here. देखिए, it's a very complicated sort of a situation, right? It's kind of like everything is interconnected, and unfortunately, there are actually no silver bullets where if you come up with one solution, it's going to solve all these problems. So there's no straightforward answer, but I'll try and summarize it. In my opinion, the biggest visible threat which has not yet arrived is the impact that climate is going to have on agriculture in Pakistan. On one hand, you could say that people don't realize what the impact of climate is going to be, and this is true. But knowledge is now so freely available and it spreads so quickly. And now with the use of AI and how it's spreading, people don't know now, they'll know in 2 years, right? It's not like climate devastation is happening tomorrow morning. It's happening over a couple of years. So what we call the near future is in years. So the awareness in a very young population of the impact that climate change is going to have on agriculture, that awareness will come. That's not the problem. It is going to come by default, just simply through sheer access of media and being a part of the conversation. Problem is, what does one do now that you do know that climate has a problem? And there are certain solutions available. And those solutions are either expensive, or they are out of reach, or they're not available. So there are biological stimulants that you can use in the case of a heat wave, or there are certain farming practices or certain farming implements that you could use. Even technology like ours, our technology can play a role in letting farmers know bad news at a very, very early stage before the damage is done. So it can lead to reduction in crop loss. And these things are out of reach. So unfortunately, the single biggest problem still remains. The farmer doesn't have access to enough money to be able to solve these things. This is one of those things that you throw enough cash at it, the problem goes away, right? If you have enough money, you hire an international consultant, they'll come fly down, they'll fly business class, you spend a couple of billion rupees, your problems are solved, right? So it whittles down to farmer economics. Farmer economics, generally speaking, are not favorable, but tailwinds are in their favor. I think the banking industry, state banks awareness, clean lending, uncollateralized lending for farmers is improving. It is becoming more accessible. So by the time that farmers realize what climate change is, how it's impacting them, and the series of decisions that they can make to make that problem go away, there seems to be things moving where they will have access to very expensive money, but that's still better than no money.
Yeah. That's so true. That's so true. I think that answers the perfect, like, because right now, like, climate crisis is real and we need to do something immediately about it. So now my next question is from Fawad. So basically, Fawad, I have seen like you have your journey and how you basically doing the commercialization of the things at Concave Agri. So I wanted to ask you, Pakistan has many agricultural problems, but not all of them are, of course, basically scalable businesses. So how a founder can identify like whether this problem is scalable or not?
Right. Okay. So first of all, I just wanted to add a few things to what Mangi and Salman have already mentioned. And therein lies the problem, and we need to understand that. Uh, हम कहते हैं agriculture is the backbone of the economy, contributes 22 or 23% to the GDP, and it is the largest or one of the largest employers, 38%. See, you see the problem right there. The 38% of the labor force is generating only 22% of the GDP. So it is not as profitable as it should be or can be. So therein lies the challenge and the opportunity. Um, so, um, if you start from there, there are multiple challenges, multiple opportunities at every stage of the value chain. तो आप कहते हैं कि यार मैंने यील्ड बढ़ानी है। यील्ड आप बढ़ाएंगे तो आपने डू यू थिंक डाउन द रोड क्या होगा पोस्ट हार्वेस्ट लॉसेस पे आपने, बिकॉज यू हैव very high post-harvest losses, both in the agriculture and in the grain sector as well as in the fruit and vegetable, जहाँ 40 to 50% वो losses. तो you need to think about multiple things. You can't just say कि जी मैं yield बढ़ा दूंगा. Yield बढ़ गई and if you can't sell it, वो price crash कर जाएगी, तो वो farmer को फिर
Thank you, sir. बहुत शुक्रिया।
yes, sir, someone has a mic on. If they
Yeah.
can.
Can you please? Yes.
तो देखें, what are investable opportunities? You have to start off with the farmer. Farmer को, the farmer is an economic agent. उसको अपना फायदा देखना है. वो ये नहीं देखेगा कि यार ये टेक्नोलॉजी है, आप इसको लगाएं तो 2 साल में पता नहीं वाह वाह हो जाएगी, ये हो जाएगा. नो, you need to make it accessible, you need to make it affordable, and you need to show कि उसको economic फायदा होगा. तो whatever, I mean, there are multiple things that can be done, लेकिन you need to show to the farmer कि जो भी चीज़ आप सजेस्ट कर रहे हैं या इम्प्लीमेंट करना चाहते हैं, उसका इकोनॉमिक फायदा फार्मर को हो रहा है, नॉट डाउन द रोड बट नाउ. क्योंकि basically it's all about economics. So like I said, there are multiple opportunities at every stage of the value chain where you can now identifying that opportunity. देखें, therein lies the challenge कि आपने उसको किस तरह वो identify करना है, what works, what doesn't work. I've been at it in the agri-tech space for almost a decade now. There are things that we've pivoted several times. तो ये कहना कि यार आपने ये चीज़ करनी है और बस यही करते रहें, some things will work, some things will not work. So कोई इसमें prescription नहीं है. You have to get your hands dirty, go there and do the things with the farmers in the field.
Oh, yes, absolutely true. So now my next question is from our very own founder, Ghasharib. So we have all witnessed your journey of Zarai Mandi, but I also want to basically use your journey as a testimony for our new founders who wanted to join the agri-tech space. So I wanted to ask you, what are the challenges you faced while building Zarai Mandi that you could not anticipate before entering into this market?
Assalamualaikum. Firstly, thank you for having me, and thank you for your kind words, Manghi and Fouad Saab. Obviously very esteemed in the space, and I agree completely with what you guys have to say. Climate पे बात हुई, and then दूसरी बात के there's a lot of things to be done. There's a host of problems, and agriculture में सबसे बड़ा मसला ये है कि इतना complex है. There's so many different things that can go wrong that agar ek cheez idhar se udhar ho jaye, and then the whole thing kind of just blows up. So I think that its complexity firstly needs to be recognized. And then I think in terms of my own journey and the challenges that I've faced is, जैसे फवाद साहब ने कहा बिल्कुल सही है कि टेक्नोलॉजी आप जाके उसके मुंह पे नहीं फेंक सकते. You have to show him that it works, and you have to show him that it works now. So one of the challenges that we faced was the adoption to our technology, because we initially started out with a chatbot. उस वक्त नया नया चैट जीपीटी आया था. ऑब्वियसली हम शहर में बैठ के समझते हैं कि हर किसी को समझ आ जाएगी कि ये क्या चीज़ है, लेकिन नेचुरली गांव देहातों में ये कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं था. तो पहले हम एक पुल मेथडोलॉजी से काम कर रहे थे कि लोग पुल करके डेटा एक्सेस करेंगे, बट दैट वाज नॉट व्हाट वाज वर्किंग फॉर देम. They and people in the villages and people in the rural areas, farmers and others over there want a push methodology whereby the data would be sent to them. So that we had to change our methodology and understand what they were used to, because they resist changes in behavior. Because agar decades se ek cheez chalti aa rahi hai, so they're not very open to adapting their behavior immediately, right? So we had to then come up with demos and free trials to allow them to access the information and see if it's of any use to them before we provide it. And secondly, ye do baatein ho gayi. Ek to adoption of technology, and the second is resistance in changing behavior. The third thing is shift in government policies, which led to a market glut. And this, I would say, is a good example is with the IMF policies, obviously, that the government was no longer allowed to provide a support price. And आप ये wheat में देख सकते हैं. In August 2023, I just pulled out the figures today for our talk, that in August 2023, wheat rates were around 4,000, 5,000 rupees per pound, right? And in 24, if you look at it 12 months later, prices are between 2,500 to 3,000. But the price of your fertilizer or the price of your other cost of production items did not decrease. In fact, they increased. So when the government policy of refusing to give a support price and then artificially trying to suppress the price by introducing a ceiling in something so important as wheat, which almost every farmer grows, did not hold for too long. Because now if you look at the wheat prices today, हाजिर में आज का रेट फॉर एग्जांपल 4,500 से 5,000 के बीच में 40 किलो जो मन होता है. तो the market will always self correct, right? Or no matter how long that might take, that is the nature of how trading works. But the government trying to control prices and not providing support because they're mandated by IMF policies is very discouraging for those involved in the supply chain. Because if someone has to grow wheat, and most of the farmers do, they have no choice, right? Because why would they be incentivized to go sell in the market when last year they were getting about between 4,000 to 5,000 rupees, and the same thing is being sold for 2,500 to 3,000 rupees. So they've lost out on so much income that they previously had. So sudden shift in government policies really changes a lot of things, which I think that as a founder, you're not really prepared. The government's not going to intimate you like 2 weeks before a policy is made that this change is about to happen and how wide the effect will be on the entire supply chain. So I think understanding that these things change quite rapidly is very important to be able to position yourself. Because as I said earlier, the first principle that I understood was this is a very, very, very complex field because of the amount of variables that are in it, right? Like you have the weather, you have water, you have seeds, you have pests, you have the market conditions, you have policies, international trade, like we're seeing in the past year and a half. So with so many variables, you need to be prepared for the unpredictability. So kind of like the Pakistan cricket team, Pakistan's agriculture is not for the faint-hearted.
Yeah, that's a perfect example, I guess. So now my next question is from Manghi. So I have seen like Farmdar is working a lot with data these days. So I wanted to ask you, with limited and fragmented agriculture data in Pakistan, how can founders build reliable technology without making assumptions that fail in the field?
देखिए, you'll have to go gather your own data. It's really as simple as that, right? That's literally the entire answer. Data is fragmented. It's honestly where it is available, it's pretty bogus. It's not really usable. It's not in a form that can really create much value for you. It'll give you a direction कि इधर पहाड़ है, ओकाड़ा में आलू उगता है. इस तरह से आपको एक अच्छा आइडिया मिल जाएगा. ऑब्वियसली एग टेक से बहुत पहले कुछ 80 सालों से पाकिस्तान चल रहा है. सो आई एम नॉट सेइंग डेटा नहीं है, बट अगर आपने कोई एआई मॉडल बनाना है उसके बेसिस के ऊपर, तो ऐसा डेटा तो नहीं है. But this is देखिए, everything has a positive side as well. So you can either view this as a challenge कि ओहो डेटा नहीं और अब तो मसला हो गया, or that becomes your moat, right? So the data you collect is proprietary to you. So if you view it from that lens, it can become a powerful tool later on in your journey, because one day when inshallah you've built a startup and someone wants to invest or someone wants to buy you out, the first question they ask is, what is stopping X from investing $10 million in doing the same? So go get your own data. And certainly do not work on assumption on any level.
Yeah. That's a very valid point because in startups we always say like startups is basically solving the bigger problems and doing wonders with limited resources available. So that's what it is in Pakistan, that you have to manage things with limited resources here as well. Yeah. So now my next question is from Fouad. So Fouad, basically Pakistani ecosystem is still developing and there are like a lot of gaps specifically in the field of AgriTech. So I wanted to ask you, what are the biggest gaps currently right now and how the incubators like NIC Faisalabad and other basically VC firms or other consultancies can resolve these problems?
देखें, very briefly, एग्रीकल्चर के जो इश्यूज हैं और एग्री टेक इकोसिस्टम्स के जो इश्यूज हैं, बाय एंड लार्ज यूनिवर्सल, whether you go to Africa, or you go to other countries in South Asia, uh, and Muzaffar mentioned data. So data ke issues hain, that is one of the biggest gaps, because without the right sort of information, आप वो किस तरह वो सही decisions लेंगे to fill those gaps. So you need to see what has happened in other countries, and I believe NIC Faisalabad and other NICs can help bridge that gap. यार आप agri-tech में करना चाह रहे हैं, this is what has happened globally, and here are some guidelines. So I think that is where NIC Faisalabad can uh, play a role. There is no magic. There are no silver bullets. I think that's already been said. So in other geographies and similar geographies, and see how that can be adapted. And that is where, NICs can play a role in bridging that gap.
Yeah.
I just want to add in a little bit to something which our host said a little while ago, कि पाकिस्तान में limited resource के साथ काम करना पड़ता है. देखिए, the message I want, and I'm assuming that there are aspiring entrepreneurs here today, or they might see this later on, right? It's not easy anywhere. Nothing is easy anywhere, right? And nobody has said it's going to be easy. So if you compare a Pakistani aspiring founder, in an incubator versus say, to those in Silicon Valley, जो एक मतलब जगह है कि पैसा भी उधर है, रिसोर्स भी हर तरह का उधर है. You're competing with 18-year-olds who will run circle around you, and in any category, there's at least 500 people who have your idea, right? They're more motivated than you, they're more driven than you, they're hungrier, more bloodthirsty than you. इधर हमने compete ही 10 बंदे से करना होता है. So देखिए, हर जगह ना अपने मसले मसाइल हैं. And sure, we have limitations here, but Pakistan also brings tremendous amounts of opportunity. If there is a good idea with a good execution plan, you're not competing with anyone, especially in ag tech. So I just wanted to recontextualize the value of building things in Pakistan.
Yeah, of course, there are pros and cons of everything, basically, right? So now my next question is from Ghasharib. So Ghasharib, if we see like basically the agriculture supply chain, there are a lot of stakeholders involved. There are like RTs and there are like other existing relationship. There are the dealers and their network is too strong, basically. So I wanted to ask, and also you said that the people who are living on the rural areas, they are less involved in the technology. So how can startups introduce digital solution in Pakistan's traditional agriculture market without ignoring the role of RTs and these dealers?
So first, I think obviously this is a बहुत पुरानी डिबेट है कि आरती अच्छा है बुरा है. अब मैं कह रहा हूँ कि ही एग्जिस्ट इन अ गैप जहाँ पर उसको काम करना पड़ता है, राइट. वो मार्केट मेकर है, बाय साइड भी दे रहा है और सेल साइड की भी प्राइस दे रहा है. अगर वो नहीं होता ये सिस्टम एग्जिस्ट ही नहीं करता. तो पहली बात, क्योंकि और कोई निज़ाम है नहीं या फिर लोग उससे इतने कंफर्टेबल नहीं है, चाहे वो फाइनेंसिंग के तौर पे हो, तो वो इसलिए वो एग्जिस्ट कर रहा है. फर्स्ट आई जस्ट वांट टू क्रिएट दैट बेंचमार्क. सेकेंडली आई थिंक के व्हाट वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड इज कि जो एग्रीकल्चर ज़राअत का काम हो रहा है वो शहरों में नहीं हो रहा. तो एक फैंसी से बोर्ड रूम में कराची और इस्लामाबाद में बैठ के आप सोच रहे हो कि यार आइडियल केस सिनारियो क्या होगा कि यार मैं heavy technology introduce kar दूं. It's not necessarily going to work until you go out into the market, you study the trends, what is happening on the ground, how are people working, how are they trading, what are they using, what are they not using, what are they avoiding. For example, 5 years ago when I came to the NIC Faisalabad, people were not that comfortable with paying through Easy Paisa or Jazz Cash. Today, if you look at the payment cycle and how Pakistanis are making their payments, everyone is pretty much comfortable making digital payments, right? अगर कोई 50-60 साल का बंदा होगा, शायद वो उसके पास खुद नहीं होगा, लेकिन उसके बेटे या भांजे किसी के पास होगा और वो उसके जरिए पेमेंट कर देगा. तो you see the trends are evolving slowly and Pakistan is moving towards that digital day and age. I also want you to understand another thing. लाइक हम सूट टाइम में बैठ के अंग्रेजी में जाके बात करके उनसे जाके प्रोडक्ट्स पिच कर रहे हैं, तो आपको यहाँ ये पता ही नहीं 80% ऑफ देयर इकोनॉमी ऑपरेट्स इन द ग्रे. वो जो टैक्स से भाग रहे होते हैं और आप उनको कह रहे सर टैक्स में शामिल हो जाएं, ये वगैरह इस तरह की चीजें, आप उनको ऐसे प्रोडक्ट्स पिच करोगे जो शायद शहरों में चल रहे होंगे. पाकिस्तान में पिछले साल तक नॉन फाइलर भाई एक कैटेगरी थी. आपको सोचने की जरूरत है कि भाई आप किस मुल्क में ऑपरेट कर रहे हो. नॉन फाइलर वाज एन एक्चुअल थिंग, दे जस्ट गॉट रिड ऑफ इट लास्ट ईयर. तो इसका मकसद है कहने का कि भाई जहां आप पूरा काम कैश पे हो रहा है और आपको ट्रेंड्स का पता नहीं है और आप शेयर के माइंडसेट के साथ आ रहे हो, तो फिर हाउ कैन यू इंट्रोड्यूस अ डिजिटल सॉल्यूशन व्हेन यू डोंट अंडरस्टैंड द लैंडस्केप. सो आई थिंक फर्स्टली मार्केट रिसर्च एंड डिस्कवरी ऑफ द लैंडस्केप दैट यू एम टू ऑपरेट इन, especially the local trends, cultures, traditions, very important. You needing to speak their language is more important than you talking in your own language, right? Like not just by language I mean the actual language you use, but the terms you use, how you're selling the product. Because a lot of agri startups in Pakistan have come and failed because they have tried to introduce or impose their ideas on people who are necessarily not down for it, right? Like if you look at a lot of the Q-commerce startups that were trying to do last mile delivery, they were trying to involve ideas that are prevalent in the city, but those people don't want to come in the tax net, bhai. Why will they come in the official? Why will they come on the digital? Because unka kaam to chal raha hai. You need them, they don't need you, their work's already going, right? So as you said, their network is very advanced. So I think firstly recognition is the first step to change, right? If you want to introduce a digital solution, first you need to recognize what exists. As Muzaffar said, you can't go on assumptions, never work on assumptions. So if you need to go out into the field and spend 2 weeks and sleep on a charpai under an open tree, you do that, because that is what will give you the information you need to validate your assumptions and see what you need to build. For example, if we're talking about like our field is AgriTech finance. So if you look at AgriTech finance, agriculture financing is, we have very limited Islamic products in today's space, right? Why does the RT exist? Because agriculture financing through an Islamic lens, mudarba, musharaka, those products for agriculture don't exist. We're operating on an interest-based system in an Islamic republic. How can you call yourself an Islamic Republic of Pakistan and you're saying your entire economy or most of your economy is based on agriculture and your labor force as well, and then there is no Islamic product that you are offering for agriculture financing? So first we need to recognize these things, because जो हम बात करते हैं ना कि farmer debt trap में पड़ जाता है and then he can't get out of it, doesn't want his children to come into that space, it's because alternatives aren't existing. If alternatives exist, there would be something else. But the price of lending is going up, as it was referenced earlier. You then have access to very expensive money, but you don't necessarily have access to money that would allow you to grow. And then if farmers, there was a comment also in the chat that, a lot of them are small scale farmers and they have limited budget. So how will they get finance to even try out these solutions that we are proposing and that, we are advocating and that we work in these agri-tech companies? Those points are all fair and valid. But at the end of the day, what we need to understand is that the landscape that we operate in is very complicated. So whatever solution you aim to bring to the market, there has to be a clear, defined benefit for the farmer. Your North Star, which in the startup world is like your guiding principle, has to be very clear, and the direct benefit to the farmer also, or the end user, has to also be very clear, and it has to be articulated in an easy to understand manner for them to use it. I can give an example about like how our service has done that, but I'll save that for later on. Thank you.
Yeah, I guess you raised a very valid point that first you need to connect and basically go into their perspective, and then basically try to basically tell them like how you can do this solution more efficiently, right? Yeah. So now I wanted to ask a question from Muzaffar Manghi. I think this is a question that I wanted to ask you on the behalf of NICF founders, because I have seen a lot of founders struggling in that way. So how should an AgriTech founder validate an MVP with farmers?
फौज साहब, आप कुछ कहना चाह रहे थे इससे पहले?
थैंक यू मुजफ्फर। मैं सिर्फ ये कहना चाह रहा था कि देखें, वी ऑल टॉक अबाउट आरतीज, दे नॉट, वो सिर्फ पाकिस्तान में नहीं है, सारी दुनिया में, स्पेशली प्रिपोंडरेंस ऑफ स्मॉल होल्डर्स, वहाँ ये एग्रीगेटर्स एग्जिस्ट करते हैं। चाहे आप अफ्रीका में चले जाएं, चाहे आप लैटिन अमेरिका में चले जाएं, या फार ईस्ट में चले जाएं। सो वी हैव टू लर्न टू वर्क विद देम and not exclude them, because they're there, and they've been there for long periods of time, and they are providing a service. So we need to design solutions that incorporate the Arthis into the agri-tech ecosystem and make it, so that they are also, otherwise the disruption is going to be huge, and it may not necessarily be for the best.
Yeah.
So thank you, Fouad Sahab. I second that, by the way. Everyone loves a story in which there's a easy to identify villain, right? But that villain didn't come about randomly. So I think in a lot of pitch decks, the anti-Aarti story, and ये भी सूद ले रहा है, वो भी सूद ले रहा है, वो आपके घर आते रात के 2 बजे, आपका फोन नहीं उठाते, फर्क कुछ मिलता जुलता ऐसा ही है. So I agree with that. आपका सवाल था, how should an agri-tech founder validate an MVP with farmers?
Yes.
And prove measurable results within a single crop cycle. देखिए, the farmer, with any new technology, right, for it to work, either it need to solve a problem on such a mammoth level, right, on such a large scale, that the value that is being created is undeniable, right? Like Uber and Cream, it was undeniable what they were doing, right? Or someone's got to make money in the process, right? Now, Pakistan as a country, and the farmers specifically, has essentially only one problem, right? It's money. We look at other countries and we're like, हाँ जी, उधर पैसा है तो उनके कोई मसले नहीं है. तो हम अभी अपनी यूनिवर्स में उस स्टेज के ऊपर फंसे हुए हैं. और कोई भी टेक्नोलॉजी उस वक्त आप कामयाब कह सकते हैं, एटलीस्ट हमारी इकोसिस्टम में, जब वो कहीं पे किसी वक्त किसी को पैसा कमा के दे या किसी को पैसा बचा के दे, राइट? सो पहले तो मैं फ्रेमवर्क सेट करना चाह रहा हूँ कि एमवीपी की कामयाबी क्या है. खाली सिर्फ ये नहीं कि ये वाली ऐप फार्मर के मोबाइल फोन पे चलती है और एक 2G 3G के ऊपर ऑपरेट कर लेती है. दैट्स नॉट एन MVP. So demonstrating that material value, commercial value can be created, right, in a single crop cycle depends entirely on what your product is. It could take multiple crop cycles as well. But generally speaking, I don't think it's going to happen in a single crop cycle, right? A crop cycle is a very short amount of time, unless you're talking about sugarcane. But outside of that, it's a couple of months. It takes a couple of months by the time you get around, speak to farmers, get their point of view, and then the window's gone for that crop cycle. So either your testing mechanisms needs to be something जो पहले आप मेज पे कर लें, फिर चावल पे कर लें, फिर कपास पे कर लें, फिर फॉल मेज पे कर लें, फिर आलू पे और फिर वीट पे, तो आपको 5 क्रॉप्स मिल जाती हैं एक साल में. बिकॉज माशाल्लाह हम तो बैक टू बैक फसल लगाते हैं, उसको सांस लेने का मौका नहीं देते. So I think that should be the strategy. And I've seen that work for a lot of people who are trying things out. I think it worked for Ghasharib as well. They were not dependent on a crop type. They were dependent on whenever there is a crop to validate their idea. But if your question is how to prove it a success, in my opinion, the measure of success is just one: did he or did he not make money? And that will take more than one crop cycle. Just using your app is, क्यों देखिए फार्मर जो है ना वो एक बड़ा तेज आदमी है. वो मैं हमेशा कहता हूँ वो अनरेड होगा, अनलर्नड होगा, वो जाहिल नहीं है, राइट? वो हमारे से बहुत ज्यादा मंजाब आदमी है, उसको एक एक रुपए का हिसाब है, सारी चीजों का पता है. हम तो अब व्हाट्सएप के दौर में इंफॉर्मेशन ले रहे हैं, वो उससे बहुत अरसा पहले उसको मार्केट रेट्स का पता है कि वहां से 100 किलोमीटर दूर कौन सी चीज कितनी है. ये अब फार्मदार आए हैं जो सैटेलाइट से बता रहे हैं कितना गन्ना लगा हुआ है, उनको पहले से ही पता था, राइट? सो दे एंड दे आर यूज्ड टू वर्किंग विद ऑड्स दैट वी कैन नॉट इवन इमेजिन. बारिश होगी ना होगी, अल्लाह साईं की मर्जी, राइट? दैट इज देयर. And they are working their economics on the basis of that and feeding themselves successfully. Not very well sometimes, but they've been doing it. So as far as business acumen is concerned, right, they're super sharp about it. He's paying for fertilizer, isn't he? Fertilizer prices keep increasing year on year. He's still conjuring up the money to pay for it because he knows that by applying fertilizer, it has XYZ impact, which will result in a commercial gain. So the better question is, how are you designing your MVP to demonstrate that commercial gain to the farmer? If the farmer sees the commercial gain, he'll pay you for it. In our product, it takes 3 years before the farmer turns around and says, I see how I will make money. Not because उसको समझ नहीं आया. समझा तो हम उसको 10 मिनट की वीडियो में देते हैं. 3 सीजन आप निकाल लें. So थोड़ा लंबा जवाब था, but ये क्वेश्चन आपका थोड़ा ओपन एंडेड था.
Yeah. Yes, that's like you raise very valid points in that way, basically. And now, another basically confusion that I have been noticing in NIC as founder as well. So there are a lot of funding options these days. So now my next question is from Dr. Fouad. So basically, there are like now angel investors, there are now grants, there are corporate partnerships, and there are also VCs, of course. So how a founder should basically identify at what stage with which funding opportunity or she should go with?
WhatsApp म्यूट पे
देखें ये जी 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 देखें ये is again it's an open-ended question. They can, the earlier you get funded, the better. But uh, uh, one of the things that the funders need to understand is that ये and Muzaffar alluded to this, कि ये एक सीजन या 2 सीजन की गेम नहीं है. The investor need to be patient with their capital when investing in agriculture. It's not a quick commerce or e-commerce or play where you expect your ROI is over in, let's say, 2 years or whatever. Either it could be 5+ years before you turn a profit. So I know of some very well-known large AgriTechs that have been, and in our region, they have raised over 100 million USD over 10 years, and they have still not turned a profit. So, but uh, the investors believe in them because what they're doing is making an impact, and eventually they will turn a profit. So देखें, grant है, nothing like it, and I think early stage पे grants do help, because grants में you're not giving up equity. एंजल इन्वेस्टर अगेन वो डिपेंड करता है कि वो व्हाट सॉर्ट ऑफ टर्म्स इज लुकिंग एट. अच्छा, एक और चीज़ है, एंड दिस इज़ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग. एग्रीकल्चर में एंड एग्रीटेक में you need more than equity capital. You also need working capital. So you can do quick turnarounds for investors by being a digital arthi, aggregating and selling to corporate, by helping a bunch of farmers sell to corporate buyers. तो आई थिंक इसमें कोई मैजिक, कोई वो फॉर्मूला नहीं है, बट आपका अगर इफ यू हैव योर MVP, then grants may be a good place to start, followed by angel, and then venture type of funds. I think Farmdar has raised significant money. They would, they may have their opinion on this, and I'd love to hear it from Muzaffar.
देखिए, क्वेश्चन इज रेज करके करना क्या है. I've been privy to a lot of conversations where venture capital or angel investment is viewed के मेरा DHA का प्लॉट निकल आया है, राइट. देखिए, वो आपके पैसे नहीं है, वो किसी और ने आपको दिए हैं किसी काम के लिए, और आप उसके बदले में अपनी कंपनी का एक हिस्सा उसको दे रहे हैं. बहुत बड़ी बात है. एंड सो fundraising, in my opinion, should be avoided until you can prove to yourself that that money is going to lead to exponential growth, right? Until you have arrived at a point कि यार अब जब तक मैं पैसा नहीं लगाऊंगा ये चीज आगे नहीं बढ़ेगी, और काश अगर पैसा होता तो X करके ये बढ़ जाती. Outside of that, fundraising serves nothing but helping founders sleep better at night, right? Grants, like Fouad Saab said, should be the go-to option. Grants are, designed to help companies explore and do more with technology. But fundraising, in my opinion, should be avoided to whatever extent possible. This has always been the case, and it will remain the case. A good business has one job: to earn money. And how much money? To earn more than you spend. Finished. So if you're doing it that way, right, you will attract good investors. You will attract people who see your vision, right? It's always very difficult selling a dream. तो चले जी, जब सीड स्टेज पे या प्री सीड होते हैं, you have to do that, right? हमने तो कभी तक कुछ किया ही नहीं. आइडिया है और एक पावर पॉइंट प्रेजेंटेशन है, बंदे को पैसे मिल रहे होते हैं, राइट? वो उसमें वो टीम को देख रहे होते हैं, एंड आइडिया और आपकी कन्विक्शन को और आपके एक्सपीरियंस को देख रहे होते हैं. But beyond a very small seed amount, I think the holy grail should be how soon an entrepreneur can demonstrate their entrepreneurial skills and operate it like a business, right? And that business acumen, that business trajectory is what will attract funding on fantastic terms, right? You will not be desperate for the cash. So the question then becomes, do I then use this money to accelerate in 12 months? Or if I did this on my own, chalo 5 saal lagenge, main wahan pahunch jaunga, right? That's a very different conversation. But in our journey, we've always actively avoided raising until and unless there was a very clear cause that if the funds get raised, X is what we would do with it, and it'll give us a result. Abhi tak yet to be seen how right or wrong we were, but Allah better kare.
Yeah, hopefully. So now my next question is from Ghasharib. So Ghasharib, in AgriTech, I have seen like a lot of people are struggling in finding out their right, basically payable customer who's gonna pay them. So when farmers should benefit from the platform, but they are unwilling to pay, or maybe your product is somehow basically related to some other entity in the business, which is your payable customer. So how to figure out that who's your payable customer in this?
I think you have to sort of in this scenario throw a bunch of stuff on the wall and then see what sticks. What I mean by that is, for example, we did a bunch of partnerships. We did a lot of marketing. So, for example, Facebook ads, we did, because we realized a lot of our people are sitting on Facebook. And then by virtue of that, on WhatsApp is where we redirect the CTA. So, we put a lot of Facebook ads and we've increased our conversion from earlier ads, say, to 3-4% to up to now 10% per ad, which has been a sustained effort by sort of honing our marketing strategy and seeing what we've done well in the past and what has yielded us in good results. And then basically having local influencers market our product. So, you know how people do, like in cities, we have sort of influencers marketing clothes and salons and all this kind of stuff. So we also do that with agriculture, but maybe you have a famous guy in the mandi who does the boli, आप उसको रख लो, एंड उसके वैसे ही बहुत कॉन्टैक्ट्स होते हैं, हर कमीशन एजेंट को जानता है उस इलाके में, लोग उसको वैसे ही पहचानते हैं. तो जब वो उसके एक फेसबुक उनके वीडियो पे एक एड में आ रहा है, तो ऑब्वियसली दे आर मोर लाइकली टू ट्रस्ट देम versus when you sitting in the city speaking in English is going to talk. So I think having local influencers market our product have also greatly helped us identify who our correct user is, and we strive to make that effort consistently. Also, I think secondly, also just going up to people who you think is your correct use case and just demonstrating to them the value. I think like as Muzaffar was saying, ये 10 मिनट की presentation हम दे देते हैं और लेकिन 3 साल उसको conversion में लगता है because he sees the value then. And he is also right in pointing out that we are sort of crop agnostic. And I'd like to give an example. In 2024, we had a friend of mine from school. He moved to America, but he had one of his staff members in his house who was from Badin go back to Badin, and he invested in his farm. And he was like, yaar munji lagao, like chawal laga ke hum dekhte hain kya hota hai isme na. So he was obviously, he knew I was doing this business. He's like, yaar, I'm starting out in this and mera ek banda hai usko thodi bahut agriculture ki knowledge hai, but he doesn't know much. Can you help us sell our produce? हमने मुझे iri तो लगा ली है, आ भी गई है, लेकिन अब हम इसका क्या करें. तो वी डिसाइड कि यार आप फ्री ट्रायल ले लो हमारी सर्विस का, आप देख लो, समझ आता है तो फिर आगे बात कर लेते हैं. तो हमने उसको सर्विस दी. तो उसके बाद 200 मन थे, सही है, इरी के. तो वो गया अपनी लोकल पैडी की दुकान, मतलब आरत के पास वहां पर बदीन में. एंड आरती से उसने बात की. आरती ने उसको बोला मैं 2200 रुपीज, 2200 रुपये फी मान दूंगा. और उसने देखा कि जरई मंडी की ऐप पे, और जो उस वक्त हम स्क्रीनशॉट्स प्रोवाइड कर रहे थे, उसमें 2400 का एवरेज रेट आ रहा था. इट वाज बिटवीन लाइक 2300 टू 2600. So he was like to him, मेरे पास तो ये रेट लिस्ट आ रही है, आप कौन सा मुझे 2200 रुपये बता रहे हैं. So then he negotiated and the आरती basically gave him 2400 per mount. तो अगर आप 200 मन पे देखें, 200 रुपए का फर्क, तो 40,000 रुपए उसने उस एक ट्रेड से कमाए मुनाफा on 400 rupees per month service at that point. तो उसने हमें 400 रुपए दिया, लेकिन एक armed with that information he made 40,000 rupees more. And you know, we explained him our use case, and since then that guy's been our customer. He's not going anywhere because he knows that we are helping him make money. Like Muzaffar said, like this service is helping someone make money, right? End of story, baat khatam. वो पता, उसको पता है ये service use करके the information, he'll use it properly, he can make a lot of money. And in that purpose, we also make a fair bit of money doing subscriptions. So I think that person is then going to go in his बैठक शाम को बोलेगा, हाँ यार मैंने तो इतने पैसे कमा लिए, देखो ये सर्विस थी. तो फिर वर्ड ऑफ माउथ से भी आपके पास लोग आते हैं कि यार इस बंदे ने बताया कि आप ये काम कर रहे हो, तो आप हमें भी दें ये चीज, हमें भी चाहिए. हमने कहा ठीक है जी, आप ले लें, ये तरीका कार है, आप डेमो ले लें, आपको समझ आती है, खरीद लें. और इजी पैसा जायज कैश पे हमने पेमेंट रखी हुई है, बहुत सिंपल करा हुआ है उनके लिए. यू नो, इट्स नो लाइक हार्ड एंड फास्ट, जस्ट केप्ट इट वेरी वेरी सिंपल. एंड वी, कोई भी आता है कहता है यार आज मुझे फोन आया यार बाजरे का रेट इस इलाके में बता दें. हमने कहा ठीक है जी, ये सैंपल ले लें, कल का ये रेट था, आपको आज का चाहिए तो हम बता देते हैं. फिर कोई कहता है यार आगे हमें कनेक्ट कर दें, इस मंडी से हमें माल खरीदना, हम कनेक्ट भी कर देते हैं. तो मकसद कहने का है कि हम गुडविल दिखाते हैं उसको, उसका बेनिफिट दिखाते हैं उसको, बेनिफिट समझाते हैं, डेमो देते हैं, देखें ये आपको फायदा होगा. वी एक्सप्लिसिटली नेम द फायदा कि भाई आपको ये बेनिफिट होगा. एंड वी गिव एक्चुअल यूज केसेस, हर क्रॉप के अलग अलग होते हैं, एंड वी प्रोवाइड द यूज केसेस, एंड देन वी से नाउ यू कैन मेक अ डिसीजन. एंड देन ऑब्वियसली फॉलो अप करना. आई थिंक अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल फॉरगेट इन सेल्स के एक दफा कस्टमर को रीच करके उसको भूल नहीं जाना. वो कस्टमर भी बिजी होगा, लीड होगा, ही विल बी हैविंग मेनी थिंग्स, सो यू हैव टू फॉलो अप विद हिम अगेन एंड अगेन कि भाई क्या सीन है, डू यू वांट इट, फीडबैक लो. अगर वो नहीं लेना चाह रहा, क्यों नहीं लेना चाह रहा, kya constraint hai, how can we improve our product. So I think that's how you get to your ideal customer persona. And you know what they say, customer is always right, right? So I think that's the track that you have to follow, and you have to get a critical mass of users before expanding or going for funding, as was previously been said. So you just keeping to your North Star, knowing where the customer is going, showing them their direct benefit, using local influencers, and then basically pushing it through ads and different methods, word of mouth, and that's how you'll sort of get to the person who needs to buy your product if it demonstrates the value.
That's an interesting story, Ghasharib. And you know what? All of your success, I somehow get credit to NIC as well because you are also our startup as well. And thank you so much, guys, for coming to this panel talk today. And personally, I have learned a lot from this today, especially from Mangi, Fouad, and Gasharib. Of course, it's been amazing, and I hope our audience also has learned a lot from this today. And I wanted to let everybody know that we are currently accepting applications for our upcoming cohort. So if you guys have any promising idea, do apply away on our website, which is www.nicfaisalabad.com. And just like in the beginning, Salman said how NIC is basically helping out the founders with mentorship, industry connection, investment opportunities, and also the state of the art facility, the co-working space that we have here in Faisalabad. And we also offer like virtual incubation. So whether you are in Karachi, whether you are in Sawat, whether you are in Gilgit, we are accepting applications from all over Pakistan. We provide virtual incubation service as well. So Gasharib is also a testimony as he was from Karachi as well, but he was part of the incubation program here at NIC Faisalabad. And Gasharib, can you please share a little bit of your experience of the incubation here?
Yeah, I mean, it was seems like a lifetime ago. 5 saal pehle tha, I was the first batch, and Zarai Mandi bani bhi NIC Faisalabad ki wajah se. To be very honest, I went and pitched par, and I got in. And us waqt Shawar hote the. He contacted me on LinkedIn because I was posting a bunch on LinkedIn, and then he was like, "Come pitch your idea." I pitched it. First session I remember was with Faisal Sher Jan Saab. He's like, "Bhai, definition of a startup padhe." मैंने कहा अच्छा जी डेफिनेशन ऑफ स्टार्टअप क्या है तो डेफिनेशन ऑफ स्टार्टअप थी लेस देन 3 years रजिस्टर्ड एंड प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी मैंने कहा पार तो 11 साल पुरानी है और एक पार्टनरशिप है तो इट्स नाइदर ऑफ दोस थिंग्स अब मैं क्या करूं लाइक सर आपको नई कंपनी बनानी पड़ेगी मैंने कहा अच्छा तो मैंने कहा अच्छा नई कंपनी बनाए तो फिर इस प्रोसेस में नई कंपनी बनाई बट आई वाज लाइक यार नई कंपनी बनाएंगे उर्दू में बनाएंगे और लार्जर आवाम को टारगेट करेंगे सिर्फ B2B काम नहीं करेंगे B2C काम करेंगे और जनरल काम करेंगे पूरे मुल्क के फलाह व बहबूद के लिए तो a lot of people helped me and I think I learned a lot about agriculture through that a lot of connections in Punjab Lahore Faisalabad I made through NIC and obviously मैं कराची से कभी कभी आता भी था for some of the sessions and हमारा कोहॉर्ट थोड़ा लंबा स्पिल ओवर हो गया था I remember अक्टूबर 2022 में स्टार्ट हुआ था और हमारी ग्रेजुएशन फेब 2024 में हुई थी तो 1.5 साल का था and it was really nice and I learned a lot to date my hiring methodology is based on what I learned in NIC Faisalabad which is the top grading methodology by Venture Brandford Smart so I think that's something I took away there's a lot of lessons I took away but it taught me what it means to be a founder and it also gave me the patience through the hard days about why and what it means. So, the journey is only just begun. Like you said, Fouad Saab, आपको sort of future का लंबा vision रखना होता है and I have a 4-5 decades long vision over here. So, हमने बांधा हुआ है and we're just looking to play it out. But obviously credit to NIC Faisalabad for helping me achieve this so far and obviously down the road there's still a lot to do.
Thank you so
I have
much.
one question from Ghasharib, because you have a very successful model, and thank you so much for praising NIC. You were from the first cohort, and now we are running cohort 8. So coming out from the person who's joined like 5 years ago and praising NIC, like give us a lot of confidence. And obviously we have a lot of takeaways as well. But obviously as a startup and you have grown and like you have a lot of customers and all, but these startups, they always think about exit. So we never spoke about exit from all three of you guys. And obviously you said you have a 5 years, 5 decades plan ahead.
There's no
So
exit.
that plan includes exit, or you want to continue working on the
No
Zarai Mandi?
exit. भाई खाना तो सबने खाना है, right? End of the day, मैंने आपको क्विकली मैं बताता हूँ, आईबीए के साथ एक मैंने एफवाईपी स्टडी की, उसमें हमने मैल्थूशियन थ्योरी को स्टडी किया एसीएफ के बच्चों के साथ कि पाकिस्तान की फूड सिक्योरिटी और पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ क्या होगी 2050 तक। डिफरेंट हमने मॉडल्स ट्राई किए, 350 मिलियन आपकी पॉपुलेशन होनी है 2050 में। अगर आप हाउसिंग सोसाइटीज देख रहे हो, एरिया आपकी कितनी बड़ी है, आपकी यील्ड की और प्रोडक्शन की स्टैग्नेशन देख लो, आप अपने फूड इंपोर्ट का बिल देख लें, और आपने इंपोर्ट 9 बिलियन डॉलर्स की एक्सपोर्ट आपकी फूड की 5 बिलियन डॉलर्स की है, और आपने 110 मिलियन लोगों को, 11 करोड़ लोगों को आप ऐड कर रहे हो 25 साल के अंदर। लोगों को तो खाना ही है। सो दिस सेक्टर इज नॉट गोइंग एनीवेयर,
Not going anywhere, right?
सो
Exactly.
नीदर आर वी।
That's a very smart move and strategy. You have all the calculations and work done for your 5 years decade plan. Government has this 30 years, 20 years plan. You have your 50 years plan, which is amazing.
Inshallah, with your support. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, one
And
thing I learned, I mean, as an NIC director, obviously, I mean, you guys are experts in your field. And what I learned that as an incubator, we should not only talk about or start from technology. I think we should start from the stakeholders. In this case, they are farmers and obviously the problem. So what I've seen, I mean, we always talk about technology, but we don't know who are our customers, what is the problem, and who are we targeting. So that is the problem, because FIP, we spoke about how would we go and test our FIP, but FIP will only work once we know who are our customers and what is the problem, and that FIP is solving that problem or not. So yeah, thank you very much. I mean, it was an amazing discussion. I also learned a lot from you guys, and I hope to keep in touch regularly. I mean, this is one of the series of webinars we are doing, but we'll be continuing doing this. And once again, thanks a lot, and it was a very engaging discussion. I hope all the participants also engaged and learned, something from you guys. And as Abu Bakr mentioned, that our enrollment is open. You have any idea, or if you know anybody in your circle, do share our link and ask them to apply, because we have a couple of weeks more before the application closes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
thank you so much, guys. Allah Hafiz.
Allah
Thank
Hafiz.
you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.